I've known Vandana since about 7, 8 years now. We taught together at SPA, and she invited me to be a guest faculty, and I taught photography at an architecture school, which was very, very interesting. And Vandana, of course, was the art professor over there. So yeah, so our association goes back about 8 years. We've been friends ever since. Um, I love talking about art, and I think Vanna knows that. And I love talking to her about her work. And a lot of the work that you showed today, I wasn't aware of.
Yes.
And I love the sort of chronology that you sort of laid out for us ever since you were young, through to college, started working as an artist, moving around in all those various places up until now, which is, of course, you're in Gurgaon now. So both of us are educators. We teach art, we love teaching art, and I think Vandana would agree with me that a lot of the stuff that we do in our studio spaces inform how we teach and vice versa. So there is so much connection, especially being educators and of course being around young people, right? Young people's ideas about art and the way they think about art. So yeah, I mean, one of the things, of course, I just want to start off with this exhibition directly. And one of the things that I sort of touched upon when I came to your opening was the title itself, We Are All Circles. And that all has sort of interested me very, very much because I hadn't heard her talk about this sort of idea, this conceptual idea, we are all circles, to her actual display, her actual exhibition. So I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that and understand from her, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by we are all circles?
I think I've given the answer because
Of course, it's about movement, right? You're moving around and stuff, but I want to know, I mean, of course, formally speaking, we are seeing circles, right? But I think it has a deeper understanding and deeper meaning, right? Because, like I said, we see circles in your work, but I do think it has a deeper symbolic value and understanding.
Yes, I think you're quite close because when I started this series, it was about the texture, the surface part of it, like creating that blur, that movement, which I was, experiencing while going through a metro. But it didn't stay there. That remained just the surface part. And I'm never a person who can be satisfied with, the look of the painting. The painting has to speak to me and express what I really want to. So further, when I started doing this series, this particular scroll, and last 3 years, like I have been mother to a 2.5 year old kid now. So this whole experience of oneself going through a cyclical, phase of life. I could never understood motherhood before becoming a mother. This whole understanding of my body, my mother and my son, and this whole business of human beings on planet Earth, what not, it's just like unimaginable. No art history can teach me what this whole experience, physical experience of being a mother is like. So that was one strong part of it. The other was like this whole, connection of what was in my head, what I was grabbing in all those places. I have to like bring that into a coherent whole, even in that fragmentation. So when I could do this series of work, I realized that, oh, this means like whatever we see, even if looks fragmented, it's not, it's connected. We all think, oh, we are unique, we are different, we are isolated, blah blah blah, but in that we are all connected. So yes, We Are All Circles was the only title I've written 2 years back, and I had multiple titles, choosing which one to go for. Back and back, again and again, I came back to this.
Yeah, because I struggle a lot with titles. Whenever I'm thinking of naming my work or naming exhibitions or whatever, I'm always stuck.
Yes.
So I understand this sort of, going through different sort of ideas and seeing what fits well.
Because it's always a gap, no? Like the words and the work. There will always be a gap between them. Like last exhibition was all colors will agree in dark. So somewhere that title gave me
It's a great
the
title.
depth and the
It's a great
openness
title.
what I want to express. So here this title itself gives that, you know, huge space, and everybody can connect. Like, it's not about my experience. Whoever reads the title have some kind of a connection to it. So I think it came from that kind of an understanding and putting
Because
the
you've
words.
been working with this sort of circular form
Yes.
for a while now,
Yes.
right? We saw the, you know, work that you'd started quite a while, more, maybe 10 years ago. I
Yes,
think you
yes.
started working, formally speaking, with circles. Your previous show also, I think in Vasant Vihar,
Yes.
was sort of a preview, I would say, to
Yes.
this larger, you know, body of work. But you know, when I take a look, you know, at your work, it's, you know, even if it has certain things in common, um, I always think about what your subject matter is,
Yes.
and I still don't know what your subject matter is. Now there is a lot of content in your work. Always try to separate subject matter from content.
Yes.
There's a lot of content, right? But I like the fact that you keep certain things ambiguous for us. Like, you know, whenever I ask you very pointed questions, like, you know, for example, that painting, it's a profile. You know, there is always a need that we have, that we want to make a sense of an artwork, you want to relate it to real life, right? So even if that looks like a profile, it's not really about the person or a profile, right? There's something else going on, there's something deeper.
Yeah.
You know, I want to talk about this painting that was hung here, which was really, really interesting. I'm not sure if you guys know, if you remember this painting here. It was again a figure sort of looking up to the sky in a sort of a forested area. It has this sort of very you know, transcendent spiritual value to it. And I don't usually like using the word transcendence or spiritual, because in a lot of art speak or art terminology, it's sort of frowned upon. But I really want to talk about it. I want to talk about things that that people try to stay away from. But to me, it has that spiritual residue, right? And you know, I know it's not you. I know that person there is not you. I kind of want to know who that is, or what relationship you have with that figure. What relationship do you have with this figure? You know, it's sort of, you can't get away from figurative work. I've seen that also. You like a little bit of that, you know, representational value to your work. But I think you're becoming more and more abstract as well. So again, going back to this work, subject matter versus content. How would you say the two sort of relate or don't relate in your art?
See, of course, it starts obviously with a subject. I am not a person who can visualize in concepts. Never. I always will have a sketch, a drawing, a photograph, something which have come from my life, right? So this particular profile was of a professor, English professor, whom I met in IIT Kanpur. So we would, you know, chat about everything. He will chat about art and I will chat about other things, like, you know, knowing ideas. So he said, okay, I'll write about your work and you make a portrait of me. So I can only, you know, draw or make a portrait of a person whom I know enough. So I did, you know, went to his room, made some sketches and took a photograph, all of that, and I made a painting. First a collage out of it, which I have gifted him, but then that image somehow resonated with me for many things, which was not just, you know, fixed to this person whom I know. So this profile kept on coming back and back in my work. So it now represents maybe a presence, a idea, you know, like how do you represent, because in our lives we always are filled with people who are not there. The presence is always there, you know, like suppose if I say, oh, I am sitting here and my son is sitting at home, but he is inside me. You know, similarly, we have friends. Like I have Swarnalata, she is a friend from master's degree and she has just come here to see this show. And a few days back, there were students from my classmates from my Surat, you know, phase, like 10th class के बाद के friends. So those are the people who are like, I can show, वो जैसे हनुमान जी नहीं दिखाते अंदर राम और सीता, very odd example, but I'm full of people like that. But I do not have the capacity to remember anything visually. It's a very strange thing. I don't know if any of you
I
have.
don't think it's strange, because Philip Guston talks about different presences in the studio when he's working.
Yes.
And he speaks about, when I'm working, and if I'm lucky, there are a lot of people around me, whether it be my, wife, my friend, my childhood
Yes,
teacher.
exactly.
So if I'm lucky, one by one, those people will leave the studio. And if I'm really lucky, even I will leave the studio at some point. And then the real work will happen, right? So it's like about sort of, permanence, impermanence, presence, absence.
Exactly that. Like now this
What is the
person
hand
has
that works, right? What is actually working in the studio? Who is actually working in the studio? Is it Vandana and her son? Is it just Vandana? Is it not
So now
Vandana?
in this series of painting, I
Yeah.
can say even I am not there. I'm lucky to reach that place. That whoever was inside me is still there, but when I'm painting, nobody is there, not even me. So now I'm completely like learned or become very, pro at let the medium talk. Now I don't interfere with my work.
I'm glad you said the word medium because, see, I have to bring in my educator side as well because a lot of the times I'm talking about formal and contextual analysis with my students. Now, usually we learn towards what is the context, right? What is the social, political context? What is your personal history, so on and so forth. And we're so into ourselves and in our minds and in our intellect that very often the medium itself, right, the form, the color, right, what you are working with, pencil, charcoal, whatever it is, photography, that doesn't, I'm not saying it takes a backseat, but that's not discussed as much, I think, as it should be. I'm not only talking about when, about student sort of teacher relationship, but I'm also talking about us when we are discussing, when professional artists are discussing, when there are conversations going on. That is not happening as much.
Yes,
And a
very
lot of the times I hear, skill is not important. Skill does not necessarily make you a good artist, which is true, right? Which is to a certain extent. But I think that in this world we are in, this contemporary world we are in, with AI and whatnot, I think we kind of need to not regress, but understand skill and art making.
Yes,
The
it is.
formal qualities of art making itself. I think that's really important. And for you, I know it's really important too, because the way you work, the way you use color, right? The way you sort of, this hypnotic way of making these, I mean, I can't even imagine how labor intensive it is.
Yes.
Right? Extremely labor intensive work. So how do you sort of, I mean, I'm going to ask you this, how many hours does it take for you to finish a painting that size? I mean, you do massive amount of work, which is incredibly labor intensive in a very short period of time. So I'm always interested in, like, how do you balance that? Yes, I'm, acrylics, color theory, getting deep into harmony, right? Understanding how this will relate to my ideas, my concept, my content, my subject matter, what have you. Right. So how do you kind of bridge the two? Do you always start off like, okay, this color will resonate this kind of emotion, or is it very, very sort of at a very sort of subconscious level?
See, again, as I've shown in all my earlier works, there is a process of translation, right? It starts from some image or some person or some place, anything. It can be just a color, texture, anything. So it starts from there and then it's rolls and rolls, rolls and rolls. So sometime it is in between, there is a collage, and then maybe there is a digital version of things. And when I finally come to a painting, it's much more sorted. Certain aspects are sorted, at least in this series I'm talking about. There's nothing like how big the dots will be and what will be the composition. These things are not like decided after I start, they are decided before I start. But when it comes to application of color, because this whole grid and patterns and pixelation, this is just a drawing for me when I start a canvas. And I've always as I said, I don't start with a concept. I don't know what it will mean. What colors should I put? Those things I'm not very careful or concerned or pre-planned, It has to come through my intuitive understanding. So some part of it is very logical. Basically in this series, the grid part, which I want accurate, like a machine look. The earlier works I wanted hand drawn circles, but here I want that machine look consciously. But then when I start painting, once I put a color, then totally, one thing leads to another. It's like a GPS. But in GPS you have a state location that, okay, I want to reach Dhan Mill. But in this GPS, your location keep changing. Okay, I wanted to reach Dhan Mill, then I decided, okay, no, today I'll go to Bikaner house. It's things like that. So it's all in the material only. Otherwise this expression won't come. If that blue would have been different, this whole painting will not look good. So I go to the extent that which blue, and there are layers of blue which make a blue look a certain kind of blue. There are maybe some hundreds of shades of blue. So I don't know, I have that I'm very there is some radar inside my mind when it comes to color and emotion. The emotion is the central part, that I want that emotion to come through even in the first drawing se leke last drawing tak. And the color, which color, how much, how many, what size of dot, all that is intuitive. So I think medium definitely is the central point. I don't have a concept before I start.
I just love this story of hers walking into a medical college. I don't know what kind of permissions.
I just asked the guard and he said कि 8 बजे से पहले आना, 8 बजे classes शुरू हो जाती है. And Jaipur medical college is very badnaam. It's very unsafe place, and I had no idea at that time. So early morning 7 o'clock I'm here in this room full, and it was stinking. मुझे कुछ पता ही नहीं चला था. I was so thrilled, as if I'm watching a movie.
It's great that you had the sense and the sort of initiative to go and do it as a college student, just to walk into, because anatomical studies is something, in the West, especially in Western education, it's an actual class. So for example, I took an actual class.
But I had no idea at that time. I thought, how will I do it myself? मुझे नहीं पता था उस time कि there is a nude study class.
So I think you got screamed at. I think you were doing the right thing, So I wanted to tell you that. But also, of course, your painting and your drawing style. Why this shift? I want to ask you, why this sort of controlled, like you said, machine-like way to paint? Because paint in itself, right, this medium in itself is so sort of, it has a sort of looseness about it, right? Whenever I think, I don't paint myself much as such, but whenever I think of oil painting or acrylic painting, one of my favorites, of course, is Guston, and of course I love people like Dana Schutz, who does this thick layering of impasto painting. It looks like, it's still, figurative.
Yes.
But it also has a lot of abstraction in it. Now we can get into the idea that all painting is abstract, but for sake of our conversation here, why this sort of shift? Because why this tight sort of incredible amount of control over this medium?
See, it's like I was trying to understand what is this whole business of art, especially, the modern Western. It starts from there. Then you go to other art traditions, like the Indian miniatures and the Chinese painting traditions, then the modern Indian, all of that. So I have this whole, range of artists trying to do things from their position. Now I understood that the expressionist style of work did not give me, or maybe it's not possible for me to remain in that heightened state of emotion all the time. I am a very emotional or hyper person, but I'm not always like that. None of us can be all the time happy and all the time angry, things like that. Then there was this whole painting tradition, the miniature traditions. And either there is this way or there is this way, the modern Indian versus the modern Western. Now I wanted to take this challenge that can I create illusion, which is like the thing in the Western art scenario, without being photographic, without being photorealistic. So how do I do it? And can I be very contemporary, you know, the place I'm living, the time I'm living. I want, you know, to connect to, bring that energy out of my work. I don't want to go into that whole very, what do you say, emotional or sentimental type of propagating Indian miniatures type of thing. I'm not getting the right words. So, you know, I want to be in this global context where I'm no more Indian, Western, Rajasthani and all of that, because it's all useless. Now, how can we define, you know, I'm sitting here and I know everything happening in New York. So, at one point it stopped bothering you, because the earlier generation of the artists, the 60s, like KGS and Bhupen and all that, every time there is this whole how much Indian they are and, you know, what is modern in them. This whole discussion was relevant for their time. For our time, I don't need to even, you know, put that in the center of my practice. I just want to do what I want to do. And this came very naturally to me. I told you the context was more my own understanding of the place I'm in, the way I'm seeing my environment. It's nothing to do with a very, you know, planned thing. It is all like, if you put me in a room which is very hot, I'll start feeling hot. It's like that.
So how much of, I know you give enough information, like in your paintings, enough visual information for us to sort of glean some certain things. But a lot of the times artists are very sort of against interpretation, right? You want, not you want, but artists often want a certain kind of understanding to be taken from their artwork. How much of interpretation is important to you? Is that very important to you? Do you want to just give enough information? You know, this is my intention, right? This is what I'm doing, and then it's up to you, or is it like something very specific that you want to sort of communicate or impart?
I don't think I have no such thing. Like anybody can take anything they want. I have been through this process because I wanted to be in this, you know, space. But and not, when I start, I also don't have that kind of, you know, framework. अच्छा मुझे ये ही बनाना है, ये ही दिखाना है, right? It comes as it comes. Like in these 9 panels, nothing is same. So I also don't want to impose any such thing. Ki, oh, this is how you interpret it. Because again, does it really matter? It's so open-ended. And after 10 years, if I do something else, this whole series, the meaning of the series will again change. So these are something very, you know, temporary. Today I might interpret it in a way, but tomorrow I'll interpret it in some other way. So I want it to be, you know, just as it is.
Okay, so my final question to you is that how, like if you were to sort of explain your art, how would you, like, just in one sentence, what would you say to the viewer or the audience, or a couple of sentences?
I've said, if life gives a lemon, make a painting.
Okay.
I just love painting, that's it.
Okay, so process oriented, like you just love the process and the idea of being in the studio.
I just
painting.
love colors, like just applying color, a green, blue, you know, flat, any kind. मतलब मुझे my ideal day would be just to have colors and paper and not think of anything. You know, I just love applying colors. That I have found now. You know, this whole
So let me
brush
ask
and
you
paint.
this: why do you then need an audience? Like why?
Of course, I need.
Why is that?
Because you know, I don't want to believe in the idea that art for art's sake. Because I have taken this experience from life around me. So life cannot be without people. I'm a very people's person. I'm not very social in that sense. I may not reply to any WhatsApp message. But I am not a person who can, sit and watch a waterfall. I was talking to someone, Chetna, right? I'm not a person who can go and sit in Goa and Shantiniketan and Himalayas and just watch the mountains. I cannot serve. That's why the reason I came from Shantiniketan, because I realized, and not even Baroda. I want this thick and thin of like a place like Delhi, which is like full of people who are anonymous, and that also, is the place I like to be. I don't want to be in a very provincial town where everybody knows everything about me. I want this endless
Anonymity, you like?
yeah, this forest
bit
of people whom you don't know, you just know there are human beings around you. I don't want to live in a house where we'll just watch a tree or a hill. No, I want to have a house facing a street. मैं नीचे ना उतरूँ लेकिन मुझे इंसान चाहिए. So of course then what is the meaning of these paintings if I don't share it with others, how they feel. I'm very much interested in each and every person's response. Even people around my house, they are my friends, they are neighbors. So I have forced them to come to my exhibition. Before meeting me, hardly they have ever gone to any art exhibition. So now I am like, I will tell everyone. She was like just not coming, cancelling her program. Like, you have to come because you know me, and seeing this exhibition for you is the most important thing for me. My mom and my Masi, they came on the opening day. My mom just knows, oh, I do something, and she's otherwise okay, fine with it. But I wanted her to come here, to have this feel of, even if she doesn't, she'll keep saying, mujhe pata nahi, samajh nahi aata. Most of the people do that. But I just don't care. I'm just wanting them to, because I'm interested in seeing. So if just you come and see, that's it. Kuch nahi.
I really love that because I often think about just the act of looking.
Yes.
Right? Just the idea of looking at art without judgment or without having different sort of connections or your brain firing off into different directions, which my brain usually does. But one of the things that I do when I look at your work is I just look at your work.
Yeah,
right?
because you
Without
may also
it,
apply all the knowledge and the interest you have in the other aspects of art and art history we are talking about. But suppose if I don't want to get into all that, even then a person can just see, like, and why I want to insist them to see is like, in our country we don't get much opportunity to see contemporary art. We have no museums, no access to contemporary artists. There are very few shows happening. So it's a whole aspect of your own opening up, no, an experience. Like if I don't go and see a cricket match, how will I feel that? So I think that's very important. This is totally missing. So why not just push people, insist them, come, see, I don't mind doing that.
yeah, absolutely. Great.
Because unfortunately it's vacation time, so all my students at SP are not here, but I would have really like forced them. Thank you, Ratna. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you
for
so much. Thanks,
wonderful
Vandana.
questions.
Does anyone have any questions at all?
Yeah. Savani, do we have a time limit?
I don't know how long you wanted to go, but can
So yes, I would like to hear from you any observations, questions. Shushantada?
Sorry,
Yes.
like the people doesn't have any inkling of the art form or the meaning or the interpretation, and they're looking and they ask something very vague question to you, which is, so how do you take that? They are just, let's say they're talking about something like what how do you do it, or what color do you, what substance do you use, which is not related to your art form.
No,
at
it
all.
is.
Yeah, that is just, but any other question they ask.
I'm happy. I'm a very, like, मुझे अच्छा लगता है. Because see, when we teach students, they have no idea. Because in our country, especially, this is like something going to Mars.
I think those are very legit questions and they're very important questions. We can't assume to have this sort of exalted position, right? Because we are educators or practicing artists, that it's closed off to the lay person, right? Art education is very, very important in India. and it's still at the very beginning, sort of nascent stages.
Yeah, because see,
And
anything is part of your response.
Yeah.
So there is no question. See, those hierarchies are like, I think, created also
Yes.
to make this more elite. But I am not a person who can do that and who want to do that.
So would you like to explain them something or to try to make them something
Yes.
simpler?
See, I did one workshop with a NGO, a group of women and girls. They have never been to an art exhibition. They came here. We sat here for say 2-3 hours. I made them do a painting, right? So it was not like get inspired from this or that. I just let them, be here and explore because they all love painting. So then I had one group of students from Lions Public School, Gurgaon. So they are all 11, 12 students who have taken painting, but they have no interest in painting, no idea about painting. वो time pass करने आए थे, right? And all of them were like, बातें कर रहे हैं, jokes कर रहे हैं, all not interested types, So I'm not going to get angry on them. But I know कि वो यहाँ आ गए हैं ना, तो they are changed now.
They take something back.
They will. See, once you have seen Van Gogh, you cannot delete it. है ना? चाहे आपको वो समझ आए नहीं आए. So just seeing. See, before the thing you are saying may be data. Okay, like this is another area. I understand nothing of that. If you show me an Excel sheet, I'm as blind as people seeing painting. So I ask dumb questions there. So it's like it's a matter of your association with something, not about your intelligence. Even my mom, she's not dumb. She knows how to like make the achar in the perfect way, and I have no idea how to make an achar. So I don't, have these kind of immature ways of, having these binaries. Oh, I am the artist, because I myself come from a very non-art background. So within the art world also, we need to have this confidence. Whatever I'm doing is art for me. Somebody may say, oh, this is bakwas. It's okay. For me, it makes sense. So we all have to have this.
Yeah, I was just saying that whatever the exploration happened, but it actually takes you back to the fundamental position, to the, how binary created. You know that 1 and 0, whole and no whole. And if you look back at the Jacquard weaving machine, the computer language actually developed from there. So it's really interesting things to look back, and the way you looked at all the mundane things, but seeing through, like what Ratna has mentioned, that machine-like, but that machine actually created by the human being with 1 and 0. 1 means on, 0 means off. And all the images, high pixel, low pixel, everything, it is actually defined with 1 and 0. So more and more pixels actually give you the cluster of the high definition images. So in your work, when I look at, it actually reflects that idea, and a low pixel, then in defense of what? The low, poor image. So that sort of things, and somewhere that the application of the colors actually created a kind of glitch. So that's also interestingly, maybe that very, intentionally you have used it. So that made kind of huge difference. But looking at the work, and I'm always thinking that when it is, making, and then after a point, how do you hold your eyes? On
And
that.
here they are still looking very, tamed.
Yeah, so
if you come to the studio, they're like,
yeah, I came to your studio.
so
once,
they're like very loud.
No, I'm not saying loud or something like that. When in the process of making, that time, what sort of energy, not energy, I'm not finding the right kind of, what should I say, don't look here and there. Just focus on that one point, like almost like kind of meditation. Otherwise, if you look the whole, so then it's really, impossible to complete the work, because it creates always a kind of optical illusion.
Yes. So you are very, it's a very different kind of a response which I'm hearing. So the first thing which you were talking, I'm very frankly admitting I have no understanding of Photoshop. I just do things and I know what I want, and the same thing I cannot repeat. So I'm a very non-computer savvy. But I'm just telling you the fact part of it, that it may look, oh, I know all this, you know. It's like I use it as a brush. I want to reach here. However way I will reach, and then I'll forget how I reached there. So it's a blessing, you know, in disguise. The second part is when I understood Binod Biari in the real sense, he had this vision, no, where he can only see a very detailed thing when he'll do very detailed work to show the texture of some form or anything like that, and then the distant view is very blurred because of his vision. So I somehow got stuck to that idea. Again, in a metro, like you see a blur view, but then you can also like focus and see something in detail.
So he's also, I think he's talking also photographically, what you're describing
Yes.
is a low depth of field in a sense, right?
Yes.
And he's also talking about how digital image can be corrupted. So almost, I think that is what you're trying to say, is that there, it's a perfect sort of digital image or a photograph where a certain part has been corrupted, like file corruption,
Yes.
and there's an aberration that is created. Now you are physically creating that aberration.
Because I'm consciously
which is very
aware of this,
interesting. I think
long shot and a
Yes,
close-up
yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
I'm using it. I want to have this, when you go close, you see things which are like so detailed, but then when you go far, you will see
Yeah.
something very different. So this is a technique we all use in painting, no? Like how to bring the viewer in and then also make him or her move. So this whole moving ourselves is part of this making. That's why maybe I discontinued the earlier style, because there is not much possibility. I found it's very limited with those gestural kind of paintings. I didn't have the understanding how can I make people move, but here I can literally, turn a key and I know people will move like this, and then turn the key back. So this language, I think, gave me that possibility, because I never wanted people to have a single view and take a photograph and go back, acha, this is nice painting. So yes, it's a very, for me it's like I just enjoy this process. Yes, please.
I'm Dr. Vishal. Why you choose the dot? What is the initial stage? What is the you think that this is my signature style?
See, there was one main reason I told you, that I had to travel every day, you know. So just coming back home, and I always have done some kantha stitch, if you know. It's like very detailed kind of stitching, no, in Bengal. So I've done things like that. Then I was doing those cross hatching, the small drawings. So I've always, like, whenever I have not much time or freedom, then I do things which are like minute, detailed. Ki, okay, you sit and just fill a color or fill a dot. So it started from there. And then I wanted this mechanical look. I wanted to test the limit of the machine, that if I use the machine and a human, hand, how much of the machine should I keep and how much of the human hand I can keep, and combine the two to create this kind of a work. Because for me, any technology is actually a tool. So I think AI is again very interesting as a tool, no? If we look at it like that. So for me, it's a possibility. I can never do this from just by doing freehand. So why not club these things and find new possibilities? So I'm always interested in something, trying something new. Yeah.
When do you know that it is over, an artwork, like that you don't have to add anything else, or you don't have to do something more? I'm not only asking about this regarding painting. Like I find this question in every aspect of life, whatever project I'm doing. Like when do you know that it's over? Because it's you can imagine more things, you can put more things. When do you finish it?
See, sometimes it is like you know, some paintings just give you clear signals ki okay, it's complete. Some paintings are like just very naughty. If you change this, then something else will go wrong. Then if you change that, then something else will go wrong, and it can go like this and like this and like this. But then at some point, either you just leave ki okay, I'm done, or you reach a point where you think acha haan, now it's there. So it's a very natural process, no? Like
Carpe diem. Seize the
like
day.
if I have to eat roti sabzi, then I'm full. But if you ask me ice cream khana, then I have still the appetite to eat.
That's great.
Then how do we know ki I'm full? Because with the roti sabzi part I'm full. So maybe the blue I know I have done the blue part. Maybe the yellow I still want to work. So it's like all intuitive. It's a very ingrained thing in all of us. So yes, yes, please.
Maybe another way to ask you about the circles, because we keep on, I think the audience also the discussing keeps on coming back to the circles. So why do you use pop to represent your emotions? And you have the homage here on the right hand side, right? Pretty, as far as I understand, this is an Andy Warhol, right? So yeah, so maybe another way to ask about the circles is actually, let's go straight to the point. It's about pop. So why pop for your emotions to, for your the chronicle, to the activities that you've been discussing, ever since the talk started. Thank you so much.
So yes, you are very much right there. I love pop art, and especially Roy Lichtenstein. And I started from there, that whole half tone technique. I really love that because Roy Lichtenstein has that lightness of subject matter. He's not into all that expressionist and those kind of subject matter, which was too much in the art history. Understanding of art history I have had. So when I looked at Roy Lichtenstein, I found that freshness, that lightness of being, that you don't have to pretend ki, oh, you are very much deeply hurt and deeply emotional about things. You can just take a matchbox and paint it. And the style also has to be non-pretentious. So I think that went very well with me initially, but then I did not want the content part of the pop artist, like the popular culture, because I'm not a very, I'm not a person who's into the popular culture. You understand? So the subject and the content part, which you were asking, didn't come from the pop art. It's the lightness of painting technique, that you don't have to have a signature style to always start painting. You can just put color and maybe use a tracing or use a projector and just apply paint. It's as simple as that. So the whole idea of having a mechanical way of painting was a big relief for me. That's where I think I associate with pop the most, not about the subjects and the content. Yes, we can wrap up. Thank you everyone for being here for so long. I'm very happy, and thanks to all of you again.
Thank you.
Thanks to Sayoni.